All right, Khan, Shalom, Shalom, Israel, Shalom to the 12 tribes of Yasha Allah, giving the chorus, all honor, glory, and praise unto the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of the begotten Son of Mashiach, Yahweh Shah, who the world refers to as Jesus Christ, whose real name is Yahweh Shah. All right. It's Brother Yasharala, WFI Los Angeles to the Spirit. So we're going to get straight into this, right? So as we go into, as it, is December, and we're going into the Feast of Dedication, brothers in WFI have exhorted each other to start reading the accounts, knowing that 1st and 2nd Maccabees are very long books, right? They're both very lengthy in terms of not necessarily chapters, but the verses that are within the chapters, right? Anyone that's read 1st and 2nd Maccabees understands full well that there are a lot of verses. There may not be a lot of chapters, but there are a lot of verses comprised in these chapters. So I believe in 1st Maccabees is around 16 chapters. 2nd Maccabees is comprised about 15. So that adds up to be about what? About like 31, right? So it's not a lot, right? We know Isaiah, for example, Jeremiah, these have a lot of chapters, but they're not as lengthy in terms of the verses that are within the chapter. So, we know that Feast of Dedication, us at WFI are going to be keeping it December 24th at sundown, if I'm not mistaken, and that would be the first day. So, as we kind of go into the feast day, we want to also make sure we're reading the accounts again, rereading them and going through the history. So there's stuff we can learn, going to the topic, there's stuff we can learn from the sons of Mattathias. There's a lot to learn from Mattathias and his sons and everything in 1st and 2nd Maccabees, but there's things that we can learn in terms of their names that they were given, right? So when you go to 1st Maccabees, the 2nd chapter, right? 1st Maccabees chapter 2, I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "In those days rose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jareb, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Jonanan, which in the other translations will translate to Jonathan, called Cadisi," which really is like Gaddy, right? Simon, called Thasai. And we're going to look at what that means. So we're going to primarily focus on Simon and Judas, because these are the 2 sons of Mattathias that are exemplified and highlighted in 1st and 2nd Maccabees, right? It says Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Epaphius, right? If I'm saying that correctly. So again, looking at Simon and looking at Judas. Now, let's skip down, because we know that within this chapter, a lot goes on. We can't read it all right now, but go ahead, read it on your own if you haven't read it. But nevertheless, Mattathias, what does he do? When he's on his deathbed, he goes and he tells his sons, okay, especially to Simon and Judas, he appoints them as leaders within the community, as leaders within Israel, of the faithful, as it will say in the narrative of 1st Maccabees, the faithful, right? The faithful ones. In fact, some scholars will even argue that the Assyrians, right, as we read in 1st Maccabees, the 3rd chapter, all right, let's go to 1st Maccabees chapter 3, and let's see if we can get this. The Assyrians, right? Is this 1st Maccabees 3? It could be 2, right? Could be 2. Yeah, come on. So this is 1st Maccabees chapter 2, verse 42. "Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law." Right? So The Assyrians, when you go into that word for the Assyrians, or Hasidins, as it would say, when you look it up, it's really going into what? Some might even say the faithful ones, as they're called, the devout ones, the faithful ones. And this could have been a religious sect during the time of the Maccabees, right? That joined forces with Mattathias and his forces, all right? But nevertheless, they were called the faithful, all right? Now, let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse number 63. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Spiritually going into Esau, all right? Esau is this foolish, evil man that we shouldn't regard, that he's really talking about in the spirit. Wherefore, ye, my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And what precept is that? That sounds very highly reminiscent of 1 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 on down, right? Let's just pull it for edification's sake. This is 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong therefore, and show thyself a man, and keep the charge of Yahweh thy power, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. So that sounds very, very similar. You show yourself a man in the behalf of the law, right? That's really how you show your masculinity. We had a scoffer in the chat that was scoffing, on one of the videos about you look on the channel, the W5 Los Angeles via the YouTube, and, the brothers are dealing with two entitled feminists, right, out there in Long Beach. I personally wasn't there, but we have it on the channel, right? And it was posted about a couple weeks ago. And you look at that video in the comments, what appears to be Edomite woman scoffing on the comments, saying this toxic masculinity. Thank you, God, Jesus Christ, that he's coming to abolish this toxic masculinity, right? Well, in the Bible, it says that the Maccabees were valiant men and that they were masculine men. And Mattathias told his sons to be masculine in what? In showing yourself a man by the law. So where does this toxic masculinity come into the equation when we're dealing with the Bible, right? When we're dealing with ancient sources, when we're dealing with Eastern cultures, even the Elamite man in India, guess who runs the household is the man. And they're Elamites, they're Indians. They don't even believe in the Bible. They believe in Hinduism and Sikhism, Islam, and whatever type of religion they have over there. They don't even believe in the Bible, a lot of them. But yet the man runs the household. So you look in the Eastern religions and the Eastern cultures, it's the man. But then they want to come onto our comment board. They're not going to go into the comment board of the Hindus and say, you guys are promoting toxic masculinity. Right? They're not going to do that. But Salaki, let me get back to the topic. Right? First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 35. I'm going to read this and I'll go back to that. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight in the manliness of Judas' soldiers. So the manliness of Judas, this is in the Bible. We didn't write this. But somehow there's toxic masculinity in the Bible. Right? Madness, man. But going back to this, First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 63. Today, Salakia, I already read that. Verse number 65. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you. So your brother Simeon is a man of counsel. So every man has his proper gift of God. As it says in the book of 1 Corinthians, let me get this precept, right? Every man hath his proper gift of God. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7. For I would that all men were even as I myself. So Paul said, look, hey, you want to get married? Hey, go ahead. You want to get a wife? Brother, get a wife. To the woman, you want to get a husband? Get a husband. But he said to the men, I would that all men were even as I myself, on fire, not worrying about a relationship, but focus on the kingdom of the Most High. Because we know, to our knowledge, hey, guess what? Paul was a eunuch. He was celibate during his ministry. All the way up until his death, as far as we know. And that's why he said this. For I would that all men were even as I myself. You have many eunuchs for the kingdom. Matthew chapter 19, verse 12 on down explains that. And Yahushua was an example of that. Yahushua was a eunuch. And no, he didn't commit adultery 3 times. All right. Let Martin Luther King, not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, the founder of Protestantism, let him tell it. Guess what? Yeah, Yahushua committed adultery 3 times with the woman at the well, Mary Magdalene, right? And the woman in John chapter 8, right? That committed adultery. So it's alleged that he said that. Martin Luther. All right. Not Martin Luther King. That's someone different, right? Martin Luther, the pseudo theologist, all right, from Germany. But nevertheless, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7, for I would that all men were even as I myself, but every man hath this proper gift of God, one after this manner and another after that. All right. Every man has his proper gift of God. And that was Simeon's gift. Was what? Counsel. He was smart. He was wise. All right. And going back to the name, what Simon was called, he was called Thassi, right? So let's look at what the word Thassi means, or Thassi. The name Thassi or Thassi, however you want to pronounce it, means what? Has a connotation of the wise. So imagine being so smart and your wisdom and your counsel is so mighty that you're nicknamed the wise. A title which can also mean the director, the guide, the man of counsel, and the zealous. So imagine you being so wise that you're nicknamed and you're called by other men the wise one, right? Or the director, or the guide, or the man of counsel. These are all mighty names. Or even the zealous. Simon the zealous. Let's look at Bible study tools. It says the surname of Simon, the brother of Judas Maccabees, in the Syriac. It is uncertain what the name means, perhaps director or guide, since Simeon was a man of counsel or the zealous, right? So again, there's not a 100% certain, that his name meant that, the Thassi, but we have reason to say that it was based off his wisdom and his might. But nevertheless, reading on, 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 66, and for Judas Maccabeus. Now, what does the word Maccabeus mean? When you look that word up, Maccabeus, it means hammer, right? Because why? He was strong. When you look at genetics plays a very big role in how much muscle you can build, how strong you can get, how fast you can run. All of these things tie into genetics. So the Most High blessed his genetics. If you want to get scientific, he blessed his genetics to where he was from a youth up already strong. And you have individuals like that. You know, some guy at your school, you know, you're 16, he's 16, but he's benching 300 pounds already at 16 years old. You know, or 275 for two at 16 years old. You know, how is that possible? Hey, guess what? You know, it boils down to the Most High blessing certain men and individuals with strength, right? Certain individuals are geniuses. You have prodigies on the earth. You know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, chess masters, GMs. You know, math wizards at 10 years old. You know, so these type of men, or I should even say, you know, individuals are present upon the earth. So you have this. And Mattathias was blessed enough to have sons that essentially inherited these ideals and these characteristics. As for Judas Maccabeus, remember that means hammer. He had been mighty and strong even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. And this undoubtedly was probably the best candidate to be the leader during this time. When you read about how Judas Maccabeus would exhort the people, how he fought, right? The narrator of First Maccabees narrates his battles so eloquently, and he extols him to the clouds. Let's read a little bit of First Maccabees, the 3rd chapter. How does the narrator of First Maccabees describe his might? Right? First Maccabees 3 and verse 2. And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So he gave his people great honor and put on a breastplate as a giant. You see the type of words, the diction that the narrator chooses. He put on a breastplate like a giant. Now, obviously, Judas Maccabeus, there's no account of him being 7, 8, 9 feet tall. But like a giant is a simile to denote what? His power, his strength, his glory, right? And girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles protecting the host with his sword. In his acts, he was like a lion. So there's a lot of similes comparing him to mighty things in the earth, like giants and lions and such, right? And like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. For he pursued the wicked and sought them out and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Right? So this is how the narrator extols Judas Maccabeus and praises him. Right? And all praises for that, man. You know, because Judas Maccabeus, at the end of the day, he would give all that glory to the Most High. As we see, when you read the chapters, Judas Maccabeus, before he went to war, he would pray to the Lord. Right? Let's see if we can try to find it. Right? This is First Maccabees chapter 3. I was reading that earlier. Right? First Maccabees chapter 3. I think it might have been a little bit up more. But it's all good if I can't find it right here. I was reading it in the 6 and 11. Right? Well, it might have been 4. No, it wasn't 4. Right? So I'm going to just read this, though. It's good. First Maccabees chapter 3, verse number 59. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities. Or actually, Salaki, I want to read this. Verse 53. How shall we be able to stand against them except thou, O God, be our help? You see that? So before they went to battle, they would be crying up to heaven and praying to the Most High. Right? Judas Maccabeus being in front. So this is what we can learn. We can learn that, hey, guess what? We may not be mighty and bad. You may not be the strongest brother physically. You know, may not be able, you may not be 6'5". But what gift did the Lord give you? Are you more like Simon, or are you more like Judas? Are you more like the other brothers, because just because their names are not mentioned so often, it doesn't mean that they also had mighty works and mighty lots and mighty offices. Are you like Jonathan in one of the sons of Mattathias? Or what about Mattathias? He was also mighty. It doesn't say specifically what his gift was, but we know that he was zealous. Zealousness, that's a strength as well. How many brothers and sisters can we really be zealous like that? Zealousness, that takes faith, that takes power, that takes a lot of, that takes a bold spirit to be zealous. So, I just really want to make this a short video through the Spirit, but, as we kind of read these chapters and meditate upon them, hey, Most High all gave us our different gifts. Some may have more than one, and that's all praises. But nevertheless, let's say, hey, look, what gift do we have to magnify the Most High? All praise to the Most High. Kwame Yasharala. Shalom.